Stop scrolling. Before you go, ask yourself, are you walking your path or God's? If you want daily guidance, encouragement, and signs that God is leading you, hit subscribe now and never miss a step on the journey He's guiding you through. Because your path matters, and God has a plan just for you. Sometimes, the clearest sign that you are walking on God's path is not success, not answers, not everything going right. It is peace, a kind of peace that doesn't make sense. A peace that shows up when it shouldn't, a peace that stays even when life feels uncertain. You look at your situation and nothing is fully clear. Plans are incomplete, questions are unanswered, the future feels blurred. And yet, inside your heart, there is calm. Not because everything is okay, but because God is close. This is the first sign you are on God's path, not your own. You feel peace even when life doesn't make sense. When you are walking on your own path, peace depends on control. You feel calm only when things go your way, only when people agree with you, only when outcomes look safe. The moment something changes, your peace disappears. Because self-made peace is fragile. But when God is leading you, peace does not depend on circumstances. It depends on trust. You may not know how things will work out, but deep down, you know who is in control. That is why God's peace feels different. It stays when logic says it shouldn't. It holds you when fear tries to take over. It grounds you when everything around you is shaking. God's peace is not loud. It does not rush. It does not panic. It simply stays. Many people think peace comes after problems are solved, after prayers are answered, after the storm passes. But God gives peace in the middle of the storm. When you are aligned with His will, your soul rests even while your mind is still asking questions. You may still cry. You may still feel tired. You may still feel unsure. But you are not restless, because peace does not mean the absence of fear. It means fear no longer controls you. When God is leading you, He calms your heart before He changes your situation. That is how you know this peace is from Him. Worldly peace says, everything is fine. God's peace says, even if everything isn't fine, I am with you. There is a difference. If you were walking away from God's will, you would feel uneasy. Even if everything looked perfect on the outside, something inside you would feel wrong, restless, disconnected, empty. But when you are walking with God, even difficult paths feel right. Not easy, but right. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing validation. You stop begging people to stay. Because something inside you whispers, what is meant for me will reach me in God's time. That quiet confidence is peace. God often uses peace as confirmation, not excitement, not urgency, not pressure. Peace, if a decision pulls you closer to God, leads you to pray more, teaches you patience, and strengthens your faith, that peace is not accidental. It is guidance. God does not push His children with fear. He leads them with peace, even when the path is narrow, even when the season is uncomfortable, even when the answers are delayed. So if today your life is not perfect, your prayers are still pending, and your future is unclear, but your heart is calm, that is a sign. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are being led. And when God is leading you, peace will always walk ahead of you. Sometimes, the second sign that God is leading you shows up quietly, without noise, without drama. Things simply stop working. You try. You plan. You put in effort. You do everything you know how to do, and still the door does not open. At first, it feels confusing. You replay conversations in your mind. You question your decisions. You wonder if you failed, but nothing collapses suddenly. Nothing explodes. Nothing turns ugly. It just ends. This is how God often redirects His children. When you are walking on your own path, you force things to happen. You push conversations that feel heavy. You chase opportunities that drain you. You hold on to people who no longer fit the season, and every step feels exhausting, because what is not from God always requires force. But when God is leading you, He closes doors you are too attached to close yourself, not to punish you, not to embarrass you, but to protect you. Some doors close because behind them is pain you cannot see yet. Some relationships end because God sees the damage ahead. Some opportunities disappear because they would slowly pull you away from who He is shaping you to become. God values your soul more than your plans. A closed door does not mean God has rejected you. It means He has redirected you. God does not reject His children. He guides them. He steps in quietly and says, "Not this way, not this place, not this time." And suddenly, things lose momentum. What once felt exciting starts to feel heavy. What once felt right no longer brings peace. That shift is not confusion. It is guidance. If you were meant to force it, God would strengthen your hands. But when you are meant to let go, He loosens your grip. You stop getting the same responses. The energy changes. The doors stop opening. And deep down, you know, many prayers are answered through closed doors. Because what you were asking for would have hurt you later. Look back at your life. There were moments you begged God for something. You thought you could not live without it. You were sure it was the answer. And now, you are grateful it never happened. That was not luck. That was protection. God closes doors gently before they turn into disasters. He removes things quietly before they destroy you loudly. When God closes a door, He does not take peace with it. That is how you know it is Him. There may be sadness, there may be disappointment, but there is also calm, no panic, no chaos, no inner war, just the understanding that something has ended. Faith does not mean you do not feel the loss. Faith means you do not reopen what God has already closed. When you try to reopen doors God has shut, you step outside of His covering. But when you trust His hand, even endings become blessings. If you are in a season where plans are falling apart, paths are changing, and things are ending, but you are still standing, still breathing, still trusting, you are not off track. You are being guided. God is not blocking your future. He is protecting it, and every closed door is leading you closer to where you truly belong. What God has for you will never require you to lose your peace. When God is leading you, the change begins quietly, not around you, but within you. Before your situation improves, before your prayers are answered, before your life looks different, you begin to change. This is the third sign God is guiding your path. You start noticing it in small moments, the way you react, the way you speak, the way you respond to pressure. Things that once triggered you no longer control you the same way. You pause more. You listen more. You react less, and you don't even know when it happened, because God works from the inside first. When you walk on your own path, you focus on changing circumstances. You pray for results. You chase outcomes. But when you walk on God's path, He focuses on shaping your character. Because God knows if He changes the outside without changing the inside, the blessing will not last. So He works deeper. You become more patient even when waiting is hard. You become more humble even when you are misunderstood. You begin to forgive even when you were not apologized to. Not because you are weak, but because you are being strengthened. Character growth is quiet. There are no celebrations for it, no applause, no instant rewards, but it is one of the strongest signs that God is close. You start choosing peace over proving a point, silence over arguments, obedience over comfort. Old habits lose their hold. Old desires lose their power. Things that once satisfied you no longer fulfill you, and that can feel uncomfortable, because growth often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. God removes things from your heart before He removes things from your life. You may wonder why the season feels slow, why progress feels invisible, but while you are waiting, God is preparing you. He is building endurance. He is teaching discipline. He is deepening your faith. So when the door finally opens, you are ready to walk through it. If God gave you the blessing too early, it would overwhelm you. So He strengthens your character first. This is why some people receive quickly and lose everything just as fast, and others wait longer but stand stronger. If you are becoming more kind, more self-aware, more prayerful, more grounded, even while life feels uncertain, that is not delay. That is development. God cares more about who you are becoming than what you are receiving, because your character will carry you long after the season changes. So if your heart is changing, your reactions are softening, and your faith is deepening, even though your situation looks the same, you are exactly where you need to be. God is shaping you for what is coming next. And when the time is right, your circumstances will catch up to the work He has already done within you. Something subtle but powerful begins to shift. Your choices change. What once felt comfortable no longer feels right. And what once felt difficult now feels necessary. This is the fourth sign God is leading you. You begin to value obedience more than comfort. There are moments when you know what would be easier. You could stay silent. You could compromise. You could choose what feels good in the moment. But something inside you says no, not loudly, not forcefully, just clearly. And even when obedience costs you something, you choose it anyway. When you walk on your own path, comfort guides your decisions. You ask what feels good, what feels safe, what avoids pain. But when you walk with God, you ask a different question. What is right? Obedience often feels uncomfortable at first. It asks you to wait when you want to move, to let go when you want to hold on, to speak truth when silence would be easier, to walk away when staying feels familiar. God's path is not always convenient, but it is always purposeful. You start noticing that shortcuts no longer bring peace. Even when no one is watching, your heart knows, and that awareness changes you. You stop measuring success by how comfortable life feels. You start measuring it by how aligned your heart is with God. Obedience builds trust. Each time you choose what is right over what is easy, your faith grows stronger, not because life becomes simpler, but because your connection to God becomes deeper. There will be moments when obedience feels like loss. You may lose approval, you may lose comfort, you may lose familiarity, but you gain clarity, you gain peace, and you gain a confidence that does not depend on circumstances. When God is leading you, obedience becomes an act of love, not obligation. You are not obeying out of fear. You are obeying because you trust His heart. And even when you do not understand the outcome, you trust the direction. If you find yourself choosing patience when impatience would be easier, integrity when compromise would benefit you, faith when fear would make more sense, you are not missing out. You are being refined. God is shaping your path one obedient step at a time, and every time you choose obedience, you move closer to where He is leading you. As you walk further along God's path, your heart becomes more sensitive. Not weaker, more aware. This is the fifth sign God is leading you. You begin to feel conviction where you once made excuses. Things you used to justify no longer sit right with you. Words you once spoke without thinking now weigh on your heart. Choices you once brushed off now pause you, not because you are being judged, but because you are being guided. When you walk on your own path, you explain things away. Everyone does it. It's not that serious. It doesn't really matter. But when God is close, those excuses lose their power. Something inside you gently says, this is not who you are becoming. Conviction is not condemnation. Condemnation pushes you into shame. Conviction pulls you toward growth. It does not crush you. It corrects you. You do not feel attacked. You feel invited to choose better. That quiet discomfort you feel after saying something wrong, thinking something unhealthy, or acting out of alignment, that is not guilt meant to harm you. That is love refusing to let you stay the same. When God is leading you, He sharpens your conscience. You cannot enjoy what once felt normal. You cannot ignore what once seemed small, not because God is taking joy away, but because He is protecting your heart. You start checking yourself before pointing fingers at others. You start asking, what is this teaching me, instead of, who can I blame? And that shift is powerful. You become more honest with yourself, more accountable, more open to correction, not because you are perfect, but because you are being shaped. Conviction brings clarity. It helps you see where you are misaligned before damage is done. It slows you down before you drift too far. If you find yourself unable to enjoy what pulls you away from God, unable to stay silent when truth needs to be honored, unable to keep repeating cycles that once felt normal. That is not restriction. That is freedom forming. God convicts those he walks with closely, not to control them, but to prepare them. And every time you listen to that inner nudge, every time you choose correction over comfort, you grow stronger. If excuses are fading and conviction is increasing, God is not pushing you away. He is drawing you nearer, because the closer you walk with Him, the clearer your path becomes. As you continue walking forward, you begin to notice something else. You are not doing this alone. This is the sixth sign God is leading you. Help shows up at the right moment, not always early, not always in the way you expected, but exactly when you need it. When you walk on your own path, you rely on your strength alone. You push until you are exhausted. You carry burdens in silence. You try to figure everything out yourself. But when God is leading you, support appears along the way. Sometimes it comes through people. A conversation at the right time, a message that answers a prayer you never spoke out loud, someone who shows up just when you were about to give up. Sometimes help comes quietly, a delay that saves you from a mistake, a closed door that protects you, an unexpected solution that unfolds naturally. You begin to realize that things are aligning without you forcing them, not because life is easy, but because God is involved. There are moments when you think, if this had happened a little earlier, I would not have learned what I needed to learn, and if it had come later, I might not have survived the weight of the moment. God's timing is precise. He allows you to walk far enough to grow, but not so far that you collapse. Help arrives when faith is stretched, but not broken. You begin to trust that even when you feel unsure, you are being supported. You stop panicking as quickly. You stop feeling abandoned, because time and time again, God shows you He has not left you. You may not see the full picture, but you see enough to keep going. Provision may not look like excess. It may not look like everything you wanted, but it is always enough strength, enough clarity, enough grace for today. When God is leading you, He never asks you to carry what you were not meant to carry alone. So, if help has been arriving in unexpected ways, at unexpected moments, just when you were reaching your limit, that is not coincidence. That is care. God is walking with you, step by step, making sure you have what you need for the journey. As you keep walking on God's path, you begin to notice something profound. You are not alone. This is the seventh sign God is leading you. Even in silence, you feel His presence. Even in uncertainty, you sense His guidance. Even when no one around you understands, you are not walking by yourself. When you are on your own path, you often feel isolated. You carry burdens alone. You make decisions with no assurance. You wonder if anyone sees your struggle. But on God's path, you feel accompanied, not always in ways you can see, but in ways you can trust. You may still walk through difficult seasons. You may still face fear. You may still feel the weight of challenges. But deep inside, you know you are held, protected, directed. God walks with you, even when the road is lonely. You begin to notice small signs of His presence, a sense of calm in chaos, wisdom at the right moment, a strength you didn't know you had. It is subtle, but unmistakable. You stop feeling abandoned. You stop questioning if you are lost. You stop doubting that someone is guiding your steps, and that awareness changes everything. You no longer need to rush. You no longer need to force outcomes. You no longer fear the unknown, because God is already there before you arrive. When you feel uncertain, you pray. When you feel weak, you lean. When you feel lost, you follow the quiet nudges of your heart. Even in silence, you know you are not alone. You are on the path God prepared for you. You are being guided. You are being protected. You are being shaped. And the truth becomes undeniable. Walking with God means you never truly walk alone. Even when the path is hard, even when the journey is long, His presence is always with you, leading you, holding you, and bringing you exactly where you need to be. Remember, walking God's path is not always easy, but it is always purposeful. Every closed door, every trial, every moment of patience is shaping you for the life He has prepared. You are not lost. You are not late. You are never walking alone. Trust Him, follow Him, and watch how He aligns your life in ways you could never imagine. If this message spoke to you, hit subscribe and stay on this journey with us, because God's guidance is too important to miss.